Hello, everyone. This is Animezingly Baka, the amazingly stupid podcast all about anime and movies and TV shows and music and books and manga and the orders all effed up. But we all know it kind of maybe a little bit. We just know it's not about video games. I should just say Animezingly Baka, the amazingly show about anime and everything except video games, of course. Hello, I'm Mark Krishnaz. How you doing? How you doing, everyone? I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I know I'm a broken record with that, but these last few weeks and change, I want October to get here. Hopefully, with a new month, everything will be refreshed and feel good and all that jazz. This is going to be a shorter episode, probably because I haven't watched all of the seasonals. I haven't watched the latest episode of Kaiju number 8 or Witch Watch or the last 3 episodes now of One Piece. But that's fine because those are shows that Witch Watch I enjoy, but Witch Watch is in its kind of silly era. There's nothing really happening narratively. Maybe something happened this episode and we'll end the season on some kind of narrative cliffhanger. But I want to focus on the surprise best series of the last 2 weeks. And it's not My Dress Up Darling and it's not Don Da Don, both which had their final episode of the season, and both were great. I love both those shows. 2 10 out of 10s for me. However, Dr. Stone has elevated itself with these last 2 episodes to greatness territory. I don't think I would let the greatness of these last 2 episodes elevate the show as a whole. I'm not suddenly thinking it's one of the greatest shows or anything, but these last 2 episodes, I talked about the previous one where they all got petrified last week. That was a fantastic episode. But then this one was really, really good, focusing on, for the entirety of the episode, Suika, the little girl, focusing on her journey and dealings with being the sole human revived for, I think it was 4, maybe 5 years, because they've all been petrified. Why do my mustache hairs always start messing with me when I start podcasting? Only ever then. But they had been petrified for 7 years in total, or at least I always want to call him Dr. Stone. That's not his name. His name is not Dr. Stone. He's not Dr. Stone. He has a name and it's like Senku or something. It is Senku. It's not something, it's Senku. But when she finally revived him at the end of the episode, and you could clearly tell that time had passed since she had been revived and was working on creating the revival fluid because none was left. You could see in her hands and then in her face, obviously, that more than a little time had passed. And for Senku, it was 7 years because he did his whole counting thing in his head. But for her, I think a few years had passed before things in the world naturally led to the plate breaking and the revival fluid that was left falling on her and waking her up so that she would be able to do what she needed to do to bring the others back to life. But I love this episode so much, and I think it's probably the best episode of the series as a whole because it's the only one, even those first few episodes of the show when Senku was revived, and probably, I can't remember him exactly, it's been a long time, by himself for a period of time. I don't think any of those really focused on what it's like to be the sole human in this world and the loneliness that accompanies that. In part because Suika is not this science-minded person. She was able to follow the instructions and eventually get there and create the fluid and bring back Senku after years of working. But she's not someone who can just realize what to do so quickly and get things done fast. So she had to live and persevere through a lot. And I think the episode did that very well, given its short runtime, to do that and portray it well over the course of 20 minutes, 19 minutes when you remove the OP and ED. Well, the ED kind of played off into the ending. But it was a really, really good episode. I can't believe how well Dr. Stone is handling its ending so far. And I'm curious to see. I kind of wish this was the last episode of the season. There's still one left. But I want to believe it can keep this up. But I do kind of feel like the show is peaked here. Because after they start bringing everyone back, it's going to get back to its usual, everyone doing their jazz. And I guess when they start bringing back the good people, so not any of Zeno's phonies, the word I'm looking for, any of his cronies, it'll just be them bringing back society. So it's probably going to be all of that for the rest of the show, which will be nice to see society return and all of the humans in the entire world coming back and so on and so forth, and just the world returning to its usual form. But this right now has been great with emotional highs. This most recent episode had me tear up a little bit at the end when she finally brought back Senku and hugged him to wrap up the episode. It's like, oh man. To have, I'm sure she had plenty of moments of doubt over those years, but to keep trying and finally see it through and bring him back, it was great. Great episode. Some fun moments with her when she had to go collect a bunch of shit. We got to see her grandma face. Really, really good episode. Yeah. Nothing more to report there. I guess I'll continue off of that with Sakamoto Days since it is the same studio. Sakamoto Days continues to be a lot of fun, and I'm glad there's not too much to say about it right now because at least, well, I don't remember what day of the week it comes out on Netflix, but the next episode, I believe, comes out the day of this episode's release, so Monday, which is a little earlier than usual, I'm pretty sure, because I think it comes out maybe on Wednesdays. So at least we don't have to wait as long for that final episode if you are someone who stays or abides by the Netflix schedule. But I really, really like Gaku. I just like his whole vibe, and seeing them fight against Gaku's puppet, we'll call him, was really exciting. We had a fun team up between the psychic and the dude who can hear really well. And then, of course, when things seem like they're dire and Gaku has the upper hand because he decides to break his puppet in terms of his physiology and his bone structure and all that. He's just like, okay, I'm more flexible than this dude. He's pretty up there, but he's not like me. So I'm going to do what I can do, which he can't do. I'm just going to destroy his body. Of course, Sakamoto arrives to save the day because that was inevitable. That was going to happen at some point. When he's swimming and he's just on the ground doing like a doggy paddle, that was amusing to watch. But seeing those two play together, when he punches through the one dude, the guy who can hear really hard, and just takes out a chunk of his side, when I see that kind of stuff, I think to myself, so is this just for a really strong visual action shot where it showcases the strength of this character that he tore out a part of this person? Because they make it seem like he's going to be fine. But I feel like if you get about a third of your body just completely obliterated, you're fucking dead. You're going to bleed out before anyone can help you. And I tried to see when they showed him again, it's like, hey, go take him to get help. Go take him to wherever you need to take him. I tried to see in the art, does he have all, is he all there now? Is he back to normal? Because it, he wasn't there when they showed the action shot. But it's a really fun episode. Excited to see the culmination, the conclusion of this season. Been really enjoying it. This studio, I forget the name of the studio. I don't know if it's Studio Dean, Studio Cheed Studio, something like that. No, TMS Studio. I was way off. But they have done a stellar job with the ending of both Sakamoto Days and Dr. Stone this season. Let me make sure they are yeah. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I was not getting that wrong, that they are the same. That is the same studio. That is some fantastic work for them. Fantastic work. Then Gachiakuta was a pretty good episode, as well as a good week for what I watched, at least. Because the last episode of Gachiakuta, you had an ending where everyone was out. Well, I feel like it showed us, or it showed everyone being out, but maybe it just showed Engine being out, and I took that as, oh my god, everyone's out. But he was knocked out by the big dude, and it rewinds you to see how we got to that place where this giver who they went to find out about how to get back up to the surface area. What do we want to call that? Back up to the because the where they are is considered the ground, and where he was the high. Let's just call it the high place. I'm just gonna call it the high place, okay? But going there for information on that, and she just wanted to chat, talk about romance and all this jazz. She just wanted to gossip and get a bit of talky talk in there. But they're not givers. I mean, there are givers, but I need to remember terms better. But all of them are there for business. And she gets upset when she realizes they're just there to use her. They're not there to talk with her, to hang out with her, to enjoy her company. They just want to use her. So she uses her giver ability, which Rudo immediately notices that her vital instrument has the same marking as his gloves. And I'm sure that at some point we're going to find out that these bad givers are, it feels like it's obviously going in that direction, but they're probably led by his father. I'm just going to assume that. But her power it forms hallucinations for characters through smell that allows them to see her as being part of their best happy memory, and that'll make them want to protect her. So she flips a lot of the givers against the ones that manage to withstand the smell, which is Zanka, and then I forget other dude with really pretty eyebrows who we've not seen his ability yet, but it ended on him saying, well, I never wanted to use my ability on my friends, but gonna have to do that. And Zanka's like, whoa, what? So it ended on a really strong note of getting you I'm excited for the next episode to see what this guy's ability is and how he's going to use it to save the day, presumably. Was an emotional episode too for Ruto because my impression was that you see the conflict in him of knowing that this memory that is being shown is not as happy as the bad giver is making out to seem, because he knows that this girl who he fixed up the stuffed, was it a bunny, or ended up discarding it when he was taken in and all that there's this kind of emotional awareness in his head, but his body is being physically forced to do things. It was very, am I reading too much into this type of a situation? But good episode. Really good episode. Summer Hikaru died. We finally learned what the curse was and why the Indo family is the one behind all of this. And it all started, but there are questions as to timeline wise as to whether it started with this, or if they were talking about some timeline things that made it seem like, well, when is the actual origin? Things were happening before this and so on and so forth. But one of, great grandfather, whatever, when his wife passed away, he took her head to the forest to get her to be brought back to life. And he said, in exchange, I will give you whatever head in exchange for this that you want. And they bring her back to life. She comes back to life. And then like half the village dies. Some commit suicide. Some have their heads just disappear. Others, I think, just get decapitated this way or that way. And then in the end, the wife ends up dying the next day anyway. So it kind of feels like a fucking bullshit curse. I mean, it's a real curse, but it just feels like a bullshit fucking, you got bamboozled, buddy. But Hikaru's father wanted to end all of this stuff with him, in part because I think he believed that the curse wasn't real or something or other, but he didn't want to bring that down to his son. And the other kid's father was good friend with Hikaru's father, so he lets him know about some of the stuff that's going on. Decent episode. It just continues to be this really interesting story. The summer Hikaru died. And then to wrap up this episode, because let's just keep this a short one. We have the end of Dandadan and the end of My Dress Up Darling. Dandadan, I'm very happy to report, did not end the way the first season ended, which is to end in a way that feels like we're halfway through a storyline and it just ends. It's like, okay, we are just starting a brand new arc, but the season's over, so yes, it ends on a cliffhanger like you kind of want, but at the same time, we just started this thing, so it's like, what are we doing here? I really, really hate the way the first season ended. This at least ended with a nice cliffhanger, which is, one, the kaiju was actually some alien girl inside a kaiju suit, but two, it ends with that alien girl kissing Okurun for whatever reason, and Momo, Ayase, seeing him kissing her. Well, she's kissing him, obviously. But it ends on that and her reaction, which is a great cliffhanger to end on, a great way to end this season and get you excited to see the next season. But it's also the culmination of this arc, the kaiju arc. So it's not like it ended midway. If it ended last episode, for instance, or the episode before that, or halfway in last episode, or something like that, that would be the equivalent of how it ended the first season, which is just, it was awful. What a fantastic season with a terrible, terrible ending. That wasn't an ending. It was just a fucking, whatever. We ran out of time. Wait for season 2. So I'm very, very happy about that. This episode was pretty good, though. I really liked the ending, as I've already expressed. But then seeing, is it Jinky? Jinky just sounds like a stupid name. Can't be Jinky. Oh, Jinky. Where are you? But seeing him fight with the kaiju, with the Gundam. It's not a Gundam. What do we want to call it? The mecha. That's the term I was looking for. Kinta, not Jinky. Way off on that. But seeing Kinta showcase his abilities to use this mecha was fun. Though I looked a little ahead of it, and I guess what his powers are the ability to manipulate the material that forms their house, because he keeps like a singular cube from it, and it allows him to manipulate that in other ways. So I don't know if in the future we'll see him do more than just mecha stuff. Probably because he would need the whole house to create the mecha thing. There's just some good action this episode, and a lot of fun interplay between the characters. A lot of fun interplay between Momo, Aira, and Kinta, who were the main ones controlling the mecha, while Okarun and Gigi were out just trying to stay up, just trying to keep up with what was going on. I really, really love Evil Eye as well. Kinta, I'm indifferent towards, but I love Evil Eye's juvenile personality. Very one-minded person. He's just so much fun now. So I'm excited to get more of it whenever we get more of it. I'm not sure if we have any window or no when to expect season 3, but hopefully it's not that long. 'Cause I can't remember what the time frame here was. Was it only 6 months? I just want it to happen in a year. But if they need more time, take as much time as you want. Just like with My Dress Up Darling, which I'll get to right here. Take as much time as you want to make My Dress Up Darling season 3 look as good as this one. So in this one, final episode, we have the photo shoot of them all cosplaying as the video game characters, as well as the reveal of why the prop maker, who's also a cosplayer, but why she's been so standoffish with Marin. I wanted to call her Momo because I still have Dandadan on the brain. And the names are close enough. They both begin with M. Leave me alone. But we find out why she's been so standoffish with her, which is the obvious reveal. And it makes sense, but I never even considered it because I don't know. But she doesn't actually dislike Marin. It's the complete opposite. She's a big fan of hers, and it was kind of seeing Marin's cosplay that got her to open up again. It kind of reminded her of why she loves all these things. And because she's such a big fan, she's incredibly nervous around Marin and doesn't want to look like an idiot and just doesn't know how to act and doesn't want to get too over the top with her. and that's why she kept her distance, didn't talk to her, etc. And that was a good reveal, and it makes sense because, again, something I've beaten in the ground this entire season, one of the things I love about My Dress Up Darling is just how positive it is. Is it real? No. Uh, I wish the world was more reflective of the real world, was more reflective of My Dress Up Darling, where so many people, it's just so positive. It's so positive. It would be so nice if the world was as positive in real life as it is in My Dress Up Darling, where so many people are so supportive. And of course, we have the moments in backstories that are not that. But in the present in the show, everyone that the people have around them are so supportive and lovely and wonderful. Because of course we have with the prop maker, her mother being very, you gotta stop with all this stuff, grow up. This is child stuff. You're becoming a young adult. You're becoming an adult. You can't play around with this stuff. You can't watch. You shouldn't be watching anime, reading manga. That's for kids, so on and so forth. And then with the boy cross dresser or cosplayer, we had, I don't know if he had any family stuff, but his one, I think they were a girlfriend or maybe they just went on a few dates. But when she saw his closet full of stuff, she wasn't like, "Oh yeah, this is all good," and she freaked out over that. But I can't remember if she freaked out after or if she even realized or believed him when he said it was him dressing that way, or if she just couldn't get past not thinking or thinking that it was a partner that she was that he was cheating on. But then he was like, "Oh, it was fine, so I just dumped her," and so on. But I love how positive the show is. It was a really, really good episode. I liked seeing when they were doing the shoot and showing the comparisons of the screenshot from the fake video game and how they reenacted it and shot it for their photo shoot. I thought that was really nice. Seeing everyone interact with each other was great. The way the one young, tiny little cosplayer freaks out over all the fake gore was fun. Getting to see her sister and how much she's enjoying this moment and how much the big sister is there to support her little sister. Again, a really great supportive show. When when Marin realizes that the prop maker actually likes her and doesn't dislike her, her freaking out over that is classic Marin. And she immediately, because she knows that she likes her now and doesn't dislike her, she doesn't, the whole fact that the reason why she's been standoffish is because she's so nervous and scared. She completely disregards all that and immediately breaks any kind of personal space boundaries and gets so excited because she's never been anyone's quote unquote best girl. And to be that for her, she gets so excited that she just gets all up in her face. And obviously she cannot handle this and is overheating, if you think like a computer and stuff like that. That was all great. And then, of course, the way it ends, you think maybe is she going to confess? I was still on the fence. It it was all leading up to that, of course, but it seems like it would be very, very, very early to get a real, true love confession from Marin this early in the story. That seems like something you would wait for until closer to the end. Because when she confesses, I mean, we have to assume that when she confesses, there is going to be the moment where, is it Goro or Gojo? I think it's Gojo because Goro is a fucking Mortal Kombat character. It is Gojo. Yes. And I always get that mixed up in my head. But when she eventually confesses, which is going to happen at some point, spoilers, she didn't confess here. But when she confesses, obviously there's going to be a moment where Gojo has to kind of reflect upon what is happening, because no matter how deep the relationship has gotten, whenever it happens, how long they've known each other, etc., how he feels about her, so on and so forth, it is going to be very hard for him to compute in the moment that she likes him like that. He doesn't. It's not that he thinks she's just using him to. He just thinks they're friends, and that's that. And I think it's in part because he probably doesn't have much romantic mindset currently, and it could be because he just doesn't think he is someone else would be romantically interested in. But I have to believe when all that goes down, you're gonna have the time for him to compute it all, and then he is going to reciprocate. It's not gonna be a case of, well, that's great, but I just want to be friends. It's They're going to be a couple, and they're going to live happily ever after, because this is the most positive, supportive show out right now. I'm sure there are other examples, but of the things I watched, it is clearly the most just like things are going to work out on this show. What a fucking slap in the face. If this show ended, the story, if the manga ended, I don't know if the manga's still ongoing now. I can't remember. But if it ended, it's like, actually, I just want to be friends, Marin. The end. Fuck. I'd fucking throw my TV through a window. But instead of her confessing to wrap up this season of this episode, she asked for a selfie instead. And it's such a perfect switcheroo to what we were expecting if we didn't read the manga. Thinking, okay, well, obviously she's going to confess because it's been building up to this. She's been talking about it. What else could they possibly do? Even though I was pretty sure she wasn't going to confess, I didn't know what they were going to do instead. Having her ask for herself instead is perfect, because in my experience, and I think a lot of people, when you are in that honeymoon, this isn't exactly a honeymoon phase, but when you were crushing on someone and you haven't quite told them yet, when you realize you don't have a picture with them, it is kind of something that you really want. It in a way makes it feel more real, or it just gives you that tangible thing that shows you two together, even though you're not actually together on an emotional romantic standpoint just yet. You at least have this picture that has you two together. So I really get that and can relate to that. So I think that was a perfect way to not confess, to get some advancement in there. And she gets so excited when he says yes. Obviously, he's going to say yes. And he says yes. So now she's like, yeah, of course. But the second she gets right up close to him to take the picture, he starts getting flustered in classic Gojo form. It's a very cute picture they take. His smile, it's a pretty good smile, but it's also like a little like, oh my, what, I can't handle what's going to happen right now. Smile, knocks the camera, knocks the phone away. Hopefully the phone's fine, because they're high up. I don't know what floor they're on, but if he's knocked the thing that went through my head when he did that was just like, I hope the phone lands on the balcony area, or otherwise that thing's gonna fall like 6 floors and that thing's destroyed. There's a really fun, high energy way of ending the season. I can't wait. with both Down to Down and My Dress Up Darling. I just cannot wait to get the next seasons. And like I said, I want them as fast as possible, but I also want them to take as much time as they need to give us the quality they gave us this season, especially with My Dress Up Darling. I have no doubts that we're gonna get another great looking season from Down to Down. I want My Dress Up Darling to look as good as this season because my God, did it look great. But yeah, that's it for the anime. And I also realized with Down to Down, My Dress Up Darling specifically, I just need more of these positive shows. I I'm getting exhausted with. I'm trying to power through and watch everything on my Plex server, all of the movies I own, and it does get exhausting and tiring. And I'm at a point where I kind of want to pump the brakes and just focus on things that I know I like, which is why I think I want to rewatch all of my Sub Darling season 1 and season 2 right now and rewatch Down to Dawn and go back to other shows I love like the Kawaii Complex show. And I need to find where that manga is available in English legally because it was where I read it all originally was the Crunchyroll manga app way back when it first existed. And I know they were going to bring it back. I don't know if that's happened yet, but even if it is coming back or is already back, I don't know if it would be on there. So I don't know if it's where it is, but I would love to reread that because that is one of my favorite romances as well. It's probably my favorite still, but My Dress Up Darling, depending on how it all wraps up in the end, could take it. And it's also nice that in the case of My Dress Up Darling, I with its popularity, I'm going to assume that we're going to get the whole story in anime instead of just the first season like we did with the Kawaii Complex one. Yeah, that is going to do it for this here episode of Animezingly Baka. As always, no. I don't know. I forgot how I ended this. But yeah, this is Animezingly Baka. I am, of course, your host, Mark Hernandez. As always, I appreciate. I don't know if I'm doing the stream and whatever. If you enjoyed this here episode or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/pxs. There you can get access to the sausage dump where I talk about this, that, and whatever, as well as a private Discord channel and some fancy Discord roles, or you can just support me to support me. I'm also looking into other things I can do for the Patreon to make it more enticing to give people their money's worth. But if you want to support me in any way, shape, or form, you can do that over at patreon.com/pxs again. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye.
It's go time. Go daddy.